The following newly released video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one: concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly. Picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, Sid, what's wrong with it? Improper way with it. There's no such thing as improper way.
You gonna tell me what's up, bro?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration? To profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason to profile.
Do me a favor, take out your keys.
Yeah, you can record me. For what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call the supervisor? Don't about to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now. Yeah?
And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we are getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardez Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 and 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they can never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check. This is West Wednesday number 402, calling for justice for Tyrone West and for all victims of police violence. I'm going to turn it over to Tawanda. Mic check.
Mic
Right.
check.
Mic check. Thank you, Brother Ben. As he just said, this is week 402. This is day 2,814. We've been continuously and nonstop, not only fighting for my big brother Tyrone West, but for all the victims of police brutality, including the victims on the video that you guys just saw. So if this is your first time seeing that video, this is real video footage, literally, of the first killer cop, Ruiz, that first started the heinous attack on my brother Tyrone West, who is currently working as supervisor now. He's a supervisor. I'm sorry, a sergeant. And it's horrible. It's just horrible. How can you get promoted for killing an unarmed man and brutalizing many more? Like, you get rewards, and it's sickening to me. Literally, he's a sergeant. He went from being a little rookie cop, rookie killer cop, to now a sergeant. Like, are you freaking kidding me? So he's supervising over other people. It's just horrible. So again, we are demanding that he get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And every time I see that video, it saddens and breaks my heart because I think about Abdul. I think about all those victims. I think about Darrell Harris every day. The one that was actually the video you saw of the young man in the vehicle that was getting harassed by Ruiz. Basically, when he said, "Call, the supervisor. I don't feel safe." He wasn't doing anything wrong, and he was very vocal for speaking up for his right. Thank God he didn't get murdered. But the saddest part, to get traumatized and to literally know that he was almost killed 24 hours before my brother was murdered. So at first, literally, when we started West Wednesday over 402 weeks ago, we, at the beginning of it, we thought it was just Abdul Salam. We met him early on because we started being immediately out into the streets. You know, not just fighting and calling for accountability and putting killer cops in cell blocks for my big brother, but for all the victims of police brutality. We invited Anthony Anderson family, who Anthony Anderson was murdered a whole year before my brother was murdered. So it's sad, like we knew instantly that these are not isolated incidents, that is systemically happening, it's happening all over the world. But it's disgusting how the system is. This system is designed the way it is so that we cannot get any type of accountability. And I just heard on the news before we got on that finally they passed the bill for us to have local control, and now it's up to of the police department, which we should have been had. Made no sense for us not to have it, but now it's left up to the voters to decide that. But nevertheless, and then I also heard something about we were trying to get a repeal of the officers. I call it killer rights, but it's the Officer Bill of Rights. They said that's on Governor Hogan's desk to look at. Whatever he's going to look at or do, I don't know. I just caught like wins. I just literally, as we were getting ready to go on, I was watching that. But I just wanted to talk about. So when I say that the whole system is involved in the way we get accountability, and it's just sad and sickening. But for a family literally to be out there over 400 weeks, do you know how much of pain and torture that is to relive this nightmare all over again? Nobody knows how real it is until it hits your home. You can all feel somebody's pain, but honestly, to actually go through this type of trauma and pain, it's something that I don't want anybody. I wouldn't wish this pain on my worst enemy. I'm just being honest. But to think about the medical examiner's office, right, who plays a big role, and for me to hear that David Fowler was basically, going to have some type of input in George Floyd case, and he was the same medical examiner that worked on my brother's body along with Pamela Southpole, that concluded that my brother, oh no, he didn't die because we had a 320-pound David Killer Lewis, sat on him while he was face down and kneeling on my brother's neck. No, that's not why he died. And the fact that he was beat by 11 to 15 armed men and women, literally over 15 minutes, he was beat. He was beaten. Then the rest of the minutes remained with Killer David Lewis, with my brothers in a hog tie position after being pepper sprayed, after being tased, tortured, literally in broad daylight, murdered, right? Caught on video cameras, cell phone video footage, all types of things. Neighbors came out, and I give it up for Kent Moore Counseling, the brave souls that tried to save my brother's life who was threatened. The same way you see this animal Ruiz saying, "Get the F back in the house," or we didn't come up on that part of the video yet, where you will hear him, we get to one of the victims, when he's yelling at, I think it's one of the last victims that we show, but he's actually yelling, "Get the F back, get the," and that's what he do. He threatens, he's very threatening. And he's an animal, he's a maniac, he's a ticking time bomb. And the saddest part is, and it disgusts me, that this city is waiting for another uprising. That's what they're waiting for. It's not going to be until he goes and kills somebody else and then stuff start burning down. And I'm not condoning that. But it's just that when you out there peacefully trying to do things the right way, they don't hear you. And it's just sad and just sickening and disgusting to me. But literally, like I said, the medical examiner's office, they downplay. They basically try to say my brother was a super Negro and he basically died from excited delirium, even though they didn't say that, because we dead. When we were out there, it took them 154 days just to give us a partial autopsy report. And we been told them, you better not come back with no foolishness. And I even reached out, me, my cousin, my family members, we reached out to George Floyd family early on, even though we didn't get a response, but we sent them numerous messages through social media saying, look, hey, you guys, this is the same play. This is the same place. This is a different victim. They're doing the same thing. This is what happened to Tyrone West right here in Baltimore. You guys need to get a second autopsy report. Do what you got to do, because that's what they're going to try to do, is downplay, not the fact that what happened. We saw what happened. We saw Derek killing your brother, right? We saw this killer maniac until your brother was screaming for his dead mama. You know, it's just sad. Screaming, you know, it's just horrible. It's horrific. The things that take place and nobody does a goddamn thing. And meanwhile, and that's why it's hard for me to watch the George Floyd trial. I can't even watch it because every time I hear all this foolishness of how they keep trying to downplay it, I can't take it right now. Some days I feel good and I'll tune into it, but then when it starts striking that nerve, I have to turn it off quick. And every time I watch it, it strikes a nerve. I don't care what person comes up to testify. Some of the people there, commissioners, Commissioner Bass, it's just like I was just reliving what happened to my brother in Baltimore right here, literally years ago, and it's still going on. And for me to bring on my next guest, our special guest for the night, not my next guest, but our special guest tonight, Johnny Action Seed. He, to me, reminds me of George King, but unfortunately, George King did not survive. When he was tasered to death inside of Good Sam's Hospital, he was tasered over 4 times in his neck, close, just like my brother. But George King, a young 19-year-old, he did not survive, a teenager. Literally, he went to Good Sam's. He had a toothache. And literally, I guess he was in so much of pain. And I guess some type of, anybody that's going through any type of pain, and you get, sometimes when you go to hospitals, they overlook you and they mistreat you. So he's probably, I can imagine him going off if somebody's not treating him like he deserved to be treated. Like, okay, we care about, because all you got to do is show people love and respect. That's it. And that to me will basically put a cap on everything. But meanwhile, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there, but I do know, all I know is this, that between him going in for a toothache, he came down in a body bag. He didn't come out in a body bag because the toothache killed him. No, he came down in that body bag because he was tasered to death. But meanwhile, what did the medical examiner's office do in that case? They did the same exact damn thing that my brother case and what they're doing literally worldwide. And then they had this idiot to come, this fool, I don't even know what to call David Fowler, this foul piece of human poop. That's what I'll call him. But anyway, nevertheless, they'll have him to say something. All he's going to do is support the police. He's paid to support the FOP and all that. He's paid to back the police and to get them off. He's paid to do that. Yeah, he just have no heart. And if you see, I feel like something's going on in the medical exams off with everybody, like, quick, because they know it's on and popping. They know since what they did to Antoine Black, and it's sad because my family tried to do the same thing when we were out there day one. We never missed a beat. We out there in the snow, the rain, the sleet, it doesn't matter. We have never missed a beat from being out there, but yet my family always get pushed to the back end of the totem pole, and everybody else get to climb up, and they get seeks, types of accountability, and then they use my brother case. Why couldn't we get the same damn thing? We never went nowhere. Why couldn't we hold the medical examiner's office? Why couldn't we hold them accountable? Especially after I had to go into my own damn pocket because they thought they were going to have the last say so with that foolishness. I said, no, my brother, Mr. West, will have the last word and let his body speak for him. And sure enough, Dr. Mangan, who was our paraprofessional, he basically came to the conclusion that Mr. West was murdered and he died from positional asphyxiation. Okay, let's be clear. He was the first one with that, and that made us step our game up a little bit further. Like, oh no, I'm going to have my whole brother's body dug out the ground. Mr. West will have the last word, and literally. Another doctor, a whole different doctor, said that my brother was murdered as well, came up with the same conclusion. And literally, even before that, I'll go even further. Even before that, a reporter, before we got that foolishness, a reporter came to my family and said, look, you guys, tomorrow they're going to have Greg Bernstein, who at the time was the state's attorney, and they're going to have the mayor. They're going to have her come on, and they're going to talk about your brother. We did find out your brother. And they said, I got a scoop from the medical examiner's office that your brother was murdered. And that was the first person I heard to say, your brother was murdered. He died from positional asphyxiation. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? And they didn't come out with that. No, they came out with some total bull crap. So literally, you got three different people, same conclusion, and foolishness outweigh the real stuff. So it's just utterly ridiculous, the stuff that these families, my family, Anthony Anderson, just different families go through this foolishness, and nobody yet again is held accountable for any of their actions or wrongdoings. It's just sad, it's sickening, and it's disgusting. And we're not going to stop until we hold these killer cops in the cell blocks. But again, I want to bring on my first guest. His name is Johnny Actionseed, and I met this brother when we were out of town. We were protesting. He was very strong and vocal, and I've been his friend ever since. Literally, just imagine you're going to the hospital. That's why I said he reminds me of George King. He went to the hospital and he was like going through suicide, like he had broken bones, things of that nature. And I'm gonna let him tell his own story. But for him to actually get tased while you're already in pain, he could have been George King. But thank God this brother survived, and this brother got a story to tell you. So I want you guys to hold on tight. No further ado, our special guest, Johnny Actionseed. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
First of all, I'd just like to say I'm really honored to be a part of West Wednesday. 2,814 days, Queen. That's a fight, and man, that just shows your tenacity for your brother, and I just really commend you for that. And it gives a lot of us strength to see that other families and other locations are holding their ground. So thank you. First off, maybe I can, if it's okay, if I can just go through the principles of unity, it'll probably give some insight into what I believe.
Absolutely. You can do whatever you want to do, brother. The mic is all yours. The floor is yours.
I appreciate that. So number one, we believe in prosecution of the police. We want to arrest and charge all officers committing police brutality and murder to the fullest extent of the law. That is number one. Number two is that we indict all officers, prosecutors, judges, and all government officials guilty in covering up the crimes of the police. Number three, we call on all district attorneys, state and federal officials to reopen all past cases of brutality, abuse, and violations of the civil rights of victims by employees of the state. Number four, we demand that you stop the systematic intimidation of witnesses and family members. And that intimidation is what sent me to Boston after my case or during my case. And Number 5, full compensation for the victims and their family. These police are killing people, and they're leaving kids behind. You know what I mean? They're taking members of family away. So we demand full compensation. Number 6, all protesters have the First Amendment right. So stop attacking protesters, drop all charges, and expunge all related records. Number 7, we demand a federal investigation now into the murder of 6 St. Louis activists who were on the ground when the fight first started, and one of them being Darren Seals, who I was supposed to meet several weeks in Boston before he was murdered, shot, and burned in his trunk. So with that being said, yeah, I took my aunt to the hospital. She had been drinking. She was inebriated. At the time, I had a broken leg and ankle, screws in my leg. I was on crutches. Several days out of surgery, and my aunt fell through a glass plate window, and she cut herself from like her wrist, like all the way up, and it was a terrible sight to see. So she's deaf, fully deaf, and my little cousins who were there, they're also hearing impaired. But we pulled together. So we got my aunt in the car. I'm shouting directions, you know what I mean, from the passenger seat, and we got her there to get her some medical attention. And once we got her there, she kind of refused the medical attention. I told the staff that she's deaf. She doesn't really know what's going on. She needs an interpreter, which is like number 3 on the hospital Bill of Rights. I mean, it was pretty obvious. So at one point, this nurse, grabbed my aunt, and I'm like, whoa, like, relax. I don't want her to hit you. She don't know what's going on. And at that point, she said, she was under the impression it was my mom. So if your mom hits me, she's going to jail. And she literally threw up her arms and said, you know what? I'm done with this. And I didn't know it at the time, but she went to call the police. So we finally got my aunt to calm down. One of the doctors actually came over and like kind of did, very rudimentary sign language. He pointed to his eyes, and then he pointed to his arm. He pointed to his eyes. He pointed to her arm. And at that point, she realized that she was bleeding everywhere, and it was a pretty extensive wound. So we bandaged her up. Before the police came in, I'm telling my nieces, like, yo, look, this was a crisis situation. I am so proud of y'all. Y'all did what you were supposed to do. Like, good job. And that sigh of relief kind of turned to stale air in my lungs. When the police came in, one went straight to the nurse. Another one went underneath the camera in the emergency room and pulled out his baton and started smacking it in his hand. So I'm sitting in a wheelchair at this time, and I'm just, it's ridiculous. I'm thinking that I should have worn more appropriate clothes to this emergency, right? Like, I got a tank top and some camo shorts. I'm like, man, I should have threw on a shirt or something. And the cop, I look at him, and he lets me know that he's staring directly at me. He repositions himself, so I'm just trying not to make eye contact. And that's when Justin Ash, who also got promoted to head of DEA in Troy, that's when Justin Ash came over and started cursing in front of, this room full of women, in my family. He started cursing, what the F is going on here? And I told him at the time I was going to school to become a cop. I was like a semester or 2 away. And I thought at that time that was the best way to help my community. But I learned this is it. So I explained to him, I said, hey, look, she fell through a glass plate window. She's been drinking. She's deaf. She wants an interpreter. She doesn't want her kids talking to you, who are both underage and hard of hearing. And I'm interpreting. So he goes, why doesn't she want to talk to me? And I pointed to the officer still beating the baton in his hand, staring at me. And I said, what do you think that means in sign language, man? And then at that point, he started to ignore me and continue trying to question my little cousins. And at that point, I said, Risa, Nene, what did your mom just say? And he goes, all right, buddy, you're under arrest. And, you know, what we learned in police organization and supervision in school, and that they're just going to separate us, you know what I mean? And, you know, that's by the book. They're just going to separate us and get the stories, and everything will be fine. So I didn't know the danger I was in. So I kind of laughed. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. In my mind, my family's there. They're safe. She's going to get medical attention. Like, I did what I had to do. If this guy wants to put cuffs on me to make himself feel like tough, like, okay, so be it, even though I really regret it. So I stood up out of the wheelchair, offered both hands. I was standing on one leg, offered both hands, palms up, and I said, okay, arrest me. And he put one handcuff on, and my aunt, who she didn't know what was going on. There's still no interpreter. So she comes in front of me. I got my hands up. She comes in front of me like this, and she's not audible, right? So she's like making noises, like trying to tell them to stop. And at that point, they started trying to break my fingers and everything. And at first, I really cannot believe I like laughed about it. I was like, yo, come on, like. They started yelling, let her go, let her go. I'm like, you can see I'm not holding on to her. And then they're trying to break my fingers, and I'm putting weight on a broken leg. And I'm like, I said to him, I said, you got to be blind, excuse my language, but I said, you got to be blind and retarded if you think I'm holding on to this deaf lady. You know, I said what I said. And then at that point, Martin Furciniti pulls out Justin Ash's taser from his belt, and he puts it to my temple. And with each syllable, he said, I said, let her go. At this point, I am terrified. He's pointing it at my temple. So I'm pleading with this man. Please don't tase me. Please don't tase me. Like, just look. My little cousins are screaming at him. Like, look. Like, just look. At that point, Troy Police, the Goon Squad, they a gang. We call them a gang out here. They came marching in, hup, knocked me and my aunt onto the ground, beat us both with batons. In order to get her to, you know, let go of me. And then they dragged her out, put her in 4-point restraints, and gassed her. This lady had no idea what happened. The worst witness I could have brought to court. But that's what they did. So at that point, they rolled me over to my stomach. One handcuff's already on. I had the handcuff marks for like almost 2 years. So they rolled me onto my stomach, and you know, I'm pleading like, I don't know what the hell is going on. All these people on, they put their knees on my neck, and proceeded to taser me, right directly in the back of the head. They didn't shoot it. He put the taser, Martin Furciniti put the taser to the back of my head, and he tasered me 5 times for 21 seconds. And he didn't even give me a chance to comply. I mean, I was like, I can't move. Taser. And then also was flashing here. Click, 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 click. Taser. And the only reason why it was 5 times is because there's a safety switch on the X26 taser. So this guy just repeatedly, just one after another, just taser, till finally, like, everything's getting slow motion. Like, I'm really lucky to be here. And I saw something, and it told me, you know, if you don't say something, these police gonna kill you right here in front of these doctors. So as soon as they let up on the taser, I started yelling, I can't feel my legs. What are y'all doing to me? And then they started high-fiving each other and commending each other. And they just lift me up and move my arm around my back. And then they forced me to walk on my broken leg. So at this time, I don't really know what's going on. I'm asking questions. I'm still being polite. I'm like, hey, did you taser me? And then I feel the pain in my leg. And I stumbled. I said, I can't walk. Justin Ash said, you're doing just fine. And you know what he does? He pulls the handcuffs up further behind my back, put weight on a broken leg, and I stumbled. At that point, he grabbed a handful of my hair, ran me to the car, boom, face off the side of the car. So hard, my lip felt like a ketchup packet. It was like, and my teeth, and this is funny, this is why I believe the whole system is guilty. The district attorney turned over that evidence to my lawyer by accident, but the evidence was that they put my teeth through my face so hard off the side of that cruiser, it damaged the cruiser. My teeth went through my lip, chipped the paint, and dented the car. I had, you know, two or three fractured teeth, 7 loose teeth. At this point, I'm a one-legged man in a you know, butt kicking contest. So I look at him, and all the things I learned about what policing should be, you know, I say to him, you can't do this to me. I got rights. And Dominic Commental looks me dead in the eyes, and he said, you don't got no rights. I said, you said that on camera. He says, there's no audio, you idiot. So, and then I'm like, I got to remember everything that's going on. Who's this? So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, Commental, Ash, you know what I mean? The car number. So they put me in the back of the car, and I see these monsters with their arm around my knees. Again, underage, hard of hearing. And I found out later that he's telling them, you know, with domestic violence, spousal abuse, you know, the guy doesn't want you to talk, but she's trying to explain. So there's a little crack in the window. And at this point, I'm like chewing on pieces of my teeth. And I'm like, I can put my tongue out through the other side and taste the air. I'm like, man, they really messed me up. So I see that. I'm freaking out. I said, you know, Risa, man, these some dirty cops. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. At that point, Dominic Commental comes back to the car. And again, I'm handcuffed in the back of the car. He opens the door and he says, Mr. Larkins. Boom, I know he's interrogating, you know. So and then he starts to shake his mace. And I'm still in disbelief. I'm like, I laughed. So I'm still in disbelief. I said, man, you just taser me. You messed my teeth up. I said, yo, you gonna mace me? Really? You gonna mace me? In the back of the car, he goes, yup. And I'm not a dummy. I closed my eyes. And this guy sprayed me in my open wound in my lips. So as soon as that happened, it hurt so bad. I opened my eyes and I breathed it all in. And I'm asthmatic. So I'm yelling in the back of the car. Like, I'm trying to rock the car, like, to get their attention. Like, and I'm screaming. I can't breathe. So Dominic Commental pretends to be someone else, like he's going to help me. He gets in the car. He said, whoa, buddy. I just got here. Why don't you tell me what happened? This is how slick these guys are. And it's a methodology. So he unrolls the window. I'm panting out the window like a dog, thanking this man who just did all this stuff. Thank you. And I'm telling him, you know what I mean? I'm going to become a cop, you know what I mean? And I know all these police officers' name, and I think that's what scared him. I should have kept my mouth shut, but while I was maced, I wasn't supposed to see nothing, but I saw everything I needed to. So he's driving me to another hospital across town just to interrogate. That man kidnapped me. They put me in 4-point restraints at the other hospital, and they tried to drug me. They tried to give me a pill. I heard one of them say, hey, doc, give him something to calm him down. And at that point, my lip is barely hanging on. And I'm yelling, I ain't taking nothing. The doctor's like, okay, we're just going to get this mace out of your eyes. Tilt your head back. And trusting the doctor, I tilt my head back. They grab my face and try to hold my face back and shove this pill down my throat. And thank God I was able to spit it out. And I didn't realize I was in an emergency room, but I was freaking. And I said all of their names. I said, I'm reporting. This is when I still had faith in the justice system. I said, I'm reporting you to DCJS, Department of Criminal Justice Services, Kamatali, Ash, Furchiniti, while I'm blind and bleeding everywhere. So at that point, they realized, there ain't much that they can do with me. So they take me out again. And the whole car ride, I never been so scared in my life. This man is like literally saying I can do whatever the fuck excuse my language, I can do whatever I want to. Like, so at that point, I just shut up. I said, man, I don't want no more. Like, so he walks me in to, again, broken leg, and I'm asking for crutches, and I'm like, this hurts. And so I see other police officers, and I start begging for their help. I'm like, man, like, this guy just did all this stuff to me. Like, please just help me and give me a phone call. Actually, why am I even under arrest? And the reason they gave me, I was under arrest for resisting arrest. And then I just remember the cop saying, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what's going on? And then Kamatao comes back in and he beats on his chest. Boom, boom. I started saying, yo, that's him. Help me, please. And he starts beating on his chest. I'm doing this investigation. And then, man, I just put my head down. I didn't know what to do. And he started trying to force me to walk on my broken leg again. And like at one point, I just collapsed. I fell on the ground, and he got real close to me. He's like, "You don't get up, I'm gonna tase you again and again until you get it." And like even his partner was like, "Yo, please, bro, just do what he says." So I start walking on my broken leg again. They take their pictures of me, and then I don't know why, but he told me, I know that mace really stings, bro. You got a long night here. Why don't you just wash it off? And I'm like, all right, man, it's been a very long day. Like, let me get this stuff. It was burning my whole skin. And as soon as I wiped that blood off my face, they grabbed me by the head and they took their picture. So subsequently, I was charged with 4 felony assaults against police officers, as well as 3 other misdemeanors that they decided to tack on. I fought that case for the criminal part. Just to clear my name, I had to leave school. It changed the complete trajectory of my life. At this point, I was playing sports, never been in trouble. Parents are in the Marine Corps. Preachers in my family. And if they could do this to me, they could do it to anyone. And this was like 10 years ago, so nobody was really listening to what I had to say. Nobody really believed me. For 2.5 years, they this is why I say the whole system is guilty of these. It's not even injustice. These are atrocities. So they just keep on charging me, and they just hope that I run out of steam, and they just kept on bringing me to court month after month for 2.5 years. And they were circling my grandma's house with the lights on. She's completely deaf. They was jacking up my little cousins, the male little cousins, on the way home from school. So I had to flee, but I fought that for 2.5 years and was found guilty in front of a jury of my peers, like that. It didn't take too much long. I remember I was praying in the bathroom stall. And then I thought things would be rolling. It took another 2.5 years to get my day in federal court against them. So I did sue the city of Troy. And going through that federal court process was the most racist experience I had in my entire life. My lawyer told me minutes before I took the deal, I only took the deal because I couldn't afford to come back to court. I returned cans for gas money, and these dudes are on paid leave at the bar. And my lawyer said to me, he goes, I don't care, because I'm asking them, because they came up with a deal, and I'm like, I don't know what this means, Gennaro. I told them it's not about the money. I just want them to be prosecuted for what they did. And he said, I don't care about you. I said, explain it to me like I'm a simpleton. He said, I don't really care about this. I'm not gonna work for someone who doesn't trust me. And you know what? I'm not getting paid. I don't care. Do whatever you're going to do. And this is my own attorney. And I'm by myself. You know what I mean? I had my auntie and my little cousins. Thank God they showed up for me. But as I watched the court process, man, like, they didn't let me admit like any papers that said I was injured. They didn't even really let me talk on anything. It was just objection after objection, and seeing my cousins have to go through that court process 2 times was like heartbreaking. They tried to say, all right, so here's the opening statement that they had, and I hope that this would resonate with y'all in Baltimore. But the opening statement, Freddie Gray had just been killed. And actually, rewind, as I was going through the court process, Saratoga Springs Police, which is about 20 miles away from Troy, where I was almost killed, they killed my friend Daryl Mount as I'm going through this. And same thing, his mom, thankfully she had like the know-withal and the wherewithal to like not believe what they said. and get the body exhumed. They said he fell off a scaffolding because they tasered him, but it turned out this kid had boot marks all on his face. They stomped my man's head in. They stomped his head in, and they lied about it. He still didn't get a case. There's no case to reopen, so I opened a case for Daryl Mount Jr. in Saratoga Springs. But anyway, back to the opening statement. They had the audacity to say Freddie Gray's name. They said he pointed right at me. He said, "He's not Freddie Gray, and this isn't Baltimore." And I disagree. I mean, through this movement, man, my brother Rock, I was just talking to Rock, and he was wishing me well before I came on. He had a run-in with Freddie Gray, with the police officer before they killed Freddie Gray. You know what I mean? And that's my brother. Just told that man I love him before I got off the phone. So just the whole court case. I mean, it was so bad when they were showing the wounds on the back of my head. They had the screen contrasted so black. You couldn't tell the difference from my hair and the taser burns. And it got so bad, I think it was a court clerk that said, "Come on, guys, lighten up the picture." Like, it's just a lot. But since then, I've seen a lot of things in this fight that are truly concerning. I feel like the fight against police brutality is what has brought millions and millions to the street recently, this recent protest phenomenon that they're still trying to figure out. And I've all over the country, I've seen it taken advantage of. I don't want to keep on rambling on. Yeah, so there's again, I just wanted to open up with, I believe in prosecution of the police, 2 demands, and I haven't met a family across this country that hasn't co-signed on these demands. And everybody wants the case to be, if it's been closed, reopen it. If it hasn't been open it, and then prosecute the police. That's the only thing we want. And in my case, I actually won. 2 cops out of the 3. One of the cops, he used the Hulk defense. John Larkins is a Hulk, and he did wrestling and football in high school. Things I did to stay out of trouble were used against me to kind of throw dirt on my name and the person I was. And I spoke with Mike Brown Sr., and I was telling him what they said in my case, and he said, "Man, they said the same thing about my son." It's their MOS. It's how they operate. It's the whole entire system. I mean, the district attorney knew what happened to me. The judges knew what happened to me, but they all were in cahoots to save those government employees that they call the Troy Police. Maybe I could talk about some of the work I've done. I don't really want to monopolize all the time.
Oh no, it's your time. First, before you even go into that, I wanna just say that I'm sorry. Like, I've been over here crying like ever since you've been talking. Like, and I just imagine the torture that my brother felt when he was tased and beat. And then when you talked about your good friend Daryl Rock Jr. that was murdered, and he had boot prints on him when they exhumed his body. It was my brother all over again. Literally, we had his body exhumed. My brother, before we even had his body exhumed, we actually saw the boot prints. It looked like my brother was a railroad track. If I could describe how his body looked, it was horrible. And they cut out taser marks. It was disgusting. So I just wanted, like, and the saddest part, the hell that you went through from them stinking animals, literally tortured you, and nobody was actually charged and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That was beyond human torture. And I believe that this system is designed to kill us and wipe us out. And I'm just like, and I know our brother Marcus has I know people got questions for you, so if you don't mind if we take the questions, but I just want to let you know I'm so sorry. I felt like I was watching one of the worst nightmare horror flicks that I could ever see. Like, but this is reality. So people that sat back and that's watching this that thinks, oh, you know, this system is about something, you need to listen to what this living testimony. This is Keith Davis Jr., who they're trying to bury alive in the Baltimore City jails. You know, because he was the first person shot after Freddie Gray. And how dare they talk about Freddie Gray? They ain't do a damn thing with Freddie Gray family. They rather blame his damn pain and torture on the goddamn van when they knew what happened to him before he got in that damn van. So I'm this whole, I hate this system. God forgive me, I know I'm not supposed to hate, but I hate this system. This is the same system that literally killed poor Gina Best's daughter, India Kager, a vet that fought for this goddamn dirty ass country, and you murder a woman. You murder a woman. You some stinking. You know what I wish? I don't tell like, and I'm not a hateful person. God knows I do everything in love, but I wish them the things that they did to our loved ones. I wish they get it all back and plus double. That's what I wish. So I know we probably got some questions real quick, and then you can go on to your work if you don't mind if we take some questions right now, because I know it's blowing up because this is heart wrenching. So, do you mind taking questions or comments, Johnny?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Justice for Tyrone West. You know what I mean? Justice for them all.
Yeah, justice for you. Oh my God, justice for you.
Thank
So, Marcellus, do we have any questions or comments?
Oh, we have a few comments. Previously, before he spoke, someone said, from a supposed traffic stop, I guess referring to some incidents with the Baltimore police. Killer cops are like hyenas, and then referring to the story that your guest told. It said, "This is horrendous. They transposed the assault onto the victim. That's fucking infuriating. Excuse my language. The assault charges. The judicial system is part of the corruption." And then we have a couple comments from Facebook referring to the police high-fiving each other after assaulting Johnny. And Charlene, Miss Smoke said, "This is lunacy." Gina says, "Dear brother, we're sorry, very sorry this happened to you." And then Gina also said, "Thank you, Bill, for having her on." And Gina says, "Exactly, Warrior Sistar, Tawanda Jones." Charlene says, "Free Keith Davis Jr." Say her name, India Kager. Justice for Tyrone West. Angel joined. She said, "I'm here, Tawanda. They seem to be messing with her Facebook." And those are all the comments that I see. Mic check.
Mike,
check.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. So, Johnny, yeah, it's all yours again, my brother.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And I mean, everyone who tuned in and everyone who keeps on continuing to fight with you, you know what I mean? I'm with them. A lot of they hit most of this on the head. It was lunacy. And I had faith in so many different groups, like the NAACP. I mean, one of the reverends, I went to church to try to find one of these people, and he's hiding in the back, wouldn't even give his sermon. I mean, it's how much power that the police have in our communities. But since my fight started about 10 years ago, I met up with this group called Mass Action Against Police Brutality. Probably about 6 years ago. Their first action was a Martin Luther King Jr. action. And it was the first time I had seen anyone reopen the cases and prosecute the police. To me, that was amazing. So I was on my bike trying to find them. You know, they had a march out. I was looking everywhere for them, and then thank God I did find them. So for about 6 years, we've been trying to push the families to the forefront and cut through a lot of this BS that's been posed. I mean, I'll give an example. I went to Cleveland State University in 2015 for the Black Lives convening. or something like that, and they had all of these families. They had all these families and all of these resources. And I just remember I was offended as a black man. Like, they had all these families. They let the family say 2 words apiece, 3 words apiece. This is why I fight. And then they let someone else go off about you know, the bathrooms weren't labeled correctly. Spent 15, 20 minutes talking about that when they got all of these families there. And a lot of it was, just drum circles and spreading water on the ground. And I was really fortunate to be in a room with a lot of these families. And it wasn't, you would think that it'd be, at the top of the program, but it wasn't. It was like 35, 40 of us in that room. And ever since then, I always kind of wondered. So, and then the Tamir Rice case happened, and mass action against police brutality. A few of us went down Cleveland, and started noticing some things that maybe people aren't doing the right thing. Like, I just started to notice that it was only on police brutality for a brief minute before it became justice for this or justice for that, and we need to do this and we need to do that. So I finally felt like we had something going, and then just to watch that righteous energy of the streets get misdirected or redirected into a democratic political campaign. It was gut-wrenching, but we went down to 2 times to Cleveland just to show some solidarity and some support for Samaria, and we were just blown back. It was like the BLM organizers didn't even want, it was me and another victim of police brutality who's also a part of mass action against police brutality. Not another victim, her brother was killed. Incidentally, they used the taser as well. It almost felt like they just did not want us there. They said we were taking up too much space. And I remember that night, man. I thought maybe this just ain't for me. That's, they put us at a table all by ourselves. They were acting really funny. And that's when I started to realize that they're looking at these families like commodities. They're some of us are after justice, and some of us are, just clout chasing after paper. And I've seen the same thing every city I've gone. I mean, like Milwaukee, the Black Vision collectives, after George Floyd died, they collected like $30 million from people who wanted to help and infuse the fight with the resources that these families need to wage their fight for justice. And we had to run down on them. We brought like 100 families to stand in solidarity, with the George Floyd family. We had to run down on them and say, give these families this money. And I don't think it should be like that. I've seen the same thing in Cleveland, Louisville. I've seen it in Louisville. I've seen it in Milwaukee. I've seen it in Boston. I've seen it in New York. And that our energy has been redirected. And I feel like this struggle against police brutality, it needs to be resolved first before. I'm not opposed to anything else, but why have the people come out? And it's because they've seen what's happened to people like Tyrone West, to people like, Andrew Kearse, or Dante Ivey, or even Daniel Prude here in New York. And it's just been mind-boggling. And so my mission after seeing this has become to push the families to the forefront. And it's not just my mission. This is something that we believe in, a lot of people believe in, is push these families to the forefront and just get rid of all this extra stuff and just demand prosecution of the police that killed our loved ones, and to open the cases of all past incidences of police brutality. And then we will finally see how corrupt the system is. I'm seeing things like the defund question. And don't get me wrong, I don't think the police need to be super militarized and have tanks and everything. But this demand is being counterposed to prosecution. You know, in my case, there's already a law in the books that says you can't taser a person in their head. That didn't stop them from not tasering me. You know what I mean? That didn't even get brought up in court. You know, these laws never Mirandized. You know, I'm not opposed to them. I think a lot of them, you know, if that's the way you feel, you know, more power to you. But ultimately, if you're not putting prosecution at the forefront, I have a problem with that. And I've seen Black Lives Matter National, you know, send our people, like, we had the numbers, we've had the world's attention, and seen them reroute that energy right back into the Democratic campaign. And we always have to recover from that. And enough is enough. There's so many families that are on board, you know what I mean, with these demands, and that are pushing it. And, you know, we're organizing across the country, having actions in tandem with each other, which is so powerful, you know, because it's not just New York, it's Baltimore, you know what I mean, it's Boston, it's our people on the West Coast. So I would just like to say we have 3 actions coming up, and I also started Mass Action New York with several families and honest supporters. On April 24th, we're having a Justice for All, and we're demanding that the cases be reopened. May 25th is the anniversary of George Floyd, but again, we're asking that all cases be reopened. And August 28th, last year we were at the DOJ, kind of a counter rally. They put Al Sharpton out, you know what I mean, in front of the people, and we were there to demand prosecution. He didn't say a word about prosecution, you know what I mean, and he wanted to go for a lap, you know, around the statue. We took thousands of people to the Department of Justice and delivered hundreds of thousands of signatures. I think that was Stolen Lives that had been working on that tediously. But we're going back again, and this time with hopefully even more families on the same chord. And I think y'all already know what it is.
Yes, and I just want to do a little correction with the signatures. That was our sister, our beautiful queen, Dr. Ishtime Robinson, and she does Every Case Matters. And it's not just about like the ones that they want to consider high profile, because unfortunately, when any of our loved ones are murdered, it's instantly high profile to any and everybody family, you know. So just wanted to say that. So mic check.
Mic check.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it's time. She's amazing. And if anybody wants, you know, I mean, some receipts on what I'm saying about what these organizations and what these organizers are doing, you know, with the Black Lives Matter National. I mean, Nyota Uhuru, who is one of the founding members, or who is on ground zero, you know, for the Mike Brown Jr., which really started it all. I mean, in terms of attention, you know what I mean? And they had to do what they had to do to get that attention. But her and also Brock Satter from Mass Action Against Police Brutality, they did a really good job of dissecting this, and there's so much more information that I just don't have the time to go through. But if you check out the Mass Action Against Police Brutality Facebook group, you'll see that video there. We also shared it on our Facebook group here in New York, Mass Action New York. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And
Thank you.
thanks. Martella, did anybody else make any comments or questions? And then I wanted to set the floor up. Do anybody here want to ask our brother, our king, our brave brother, anything, or make any comments or questions? And then also, real quick, Johnny, how can we reach and support you? How can we reach and support you? Because I know you have a whole family now that if they're meeting you for the first time, to love, and they basically want to adopt you at this moment, how can we support you in whatever way we can?
I support the Mass Action New York Facebook group, we've been working really closely with Angelique Kearse. She's actually she's on the board. I mean, it's family led. So check out that. Check out Mass Action Against Police Brutality. Also, check out the Andrew Kearse Foundation, which Angie's been working tirelessly. Andrew Kearse was killed in my birth city in Schenectady, and like I said, all of these cities are really close. So you can support me by supporting these families and get linked in with what's going on. If you are a family member, we want to put you at the head of the table of the decision making. We have a national call on Sundays, in which we're all figuring out how to organize in coordination with each other to amplify each and every case. So yeah, tune in and get set up. I mean, people powers what I believe in now. I've seen some powerful things, so just coming together around August 28th, May 25th, and April 24th.
Thanks for throwing out those days because I couldn't remember. I was talking, we had a West Coalition planning group last night, and we were talking about the dates, and I couldn't remember if it was May the 25th or the 26th. So thanks for clearing that up too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we're also in New York. We're also having a May 11th. That's the Andrew Kearse Day. We named it AKD. So cops were, you know what I mean? They weren't charged. They were found guilty, but they weren't charged. So we're demanding that Letitia James, who was specially elected district attorney from Andrew Cuomo, that she reopen his cases and all these other, the Dante Ivey case, the Daryl Mount case. She was specially, and this is what they do, she was specially put into that position to help us, but she's been ignoring us and going around pretending like she's doing all this great work when in all honesty, she's a part of the problem.
Yeah, you shared a lot, my brother, and that's definitely true. Because they're not a part of the solution, they definitely a part of the problem. We got so many people here that's a part of the problem. So again, before I open up the floor and ask any West Coalition people want to make any comments or thoughts, I just want to say and highlight and uplift Jarrell Gray name. He was tasered to death, and it's just sad. And I want to uplift his uncle. We call him the Analysis, but his name is Ken Brown. But he's always highlighting his. And just imagine, and the crazy part, when he got tasered to death, it was a call of a peaceful call, like a peace order call, because he was like, making noises. Like, really, you kill somebody for loud noises? Like, really? Are you kidding me? It's just horrible. So, yeah. So, do anybody got any questions, comments, or thoughts at this moment? Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
So we have a couple comments. Oh, you go ahead, Bill.
After you.
Okay. So we have a couple comments. AC on YouTube says, "Thank you, Johnny, because this needs to be exposed," referring to the co-opting of social movements by the Democrats and Black Lives Matter. Then on Facebook, we have referring to when the Black Lives Matter said you were taking up too much space. Victims of police brutality seemingly taking up too much space. See, this is why those who say they are advocates need to fall back and take direction from those directly impacted. That's from Miss Smoke. And then Gina says, precisely, the Black Lives Matter national organization skillfully co-opted the movement. Then they padded their pockets with all of millions raised. Black Lives Matter is made a killing off of the killed. And I think Gina asked the question, what was her name again? Referring to one of the people you named who was also a victim of police brutality.
Oh, Tahia. Tahia, she's been there for me. Like, man, I've met some beautiful people in this, and it's really unfortunate that we come together underneath these circumstances. But there's just so many of us. So yeah, yeah. I mean, those are great questions. I mean, y'all hitting it on the head. I feel like I don't gotta keep on pounding that away. I feel like y'all understand it. But it's just important to realize that it's the whole system, and that we can only overcome it through mass action, not the organization, but the unity of the people on the front lines, and honest supporters. We need honest supporters. You know what I mean? If you in here, you trying to get elected, you know what I mean? There's so much funny to it, and there's secondary victimizations to this, and that's what we're trying to clear up. That's what's going on.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I had a personal comment while you were doing it, and it's like treating a disease. The money is not in dealing with the problem. The money is uh, doing little tweaks around the problem, to continue to propagate it until you can't anymore. Kind of like milking it. So what a lot of these organizations with bad intentions do is they keep highlighting the problem and keeping everybody engaged, and so that they can keep making more money until they've kind of taken down the movement, because it kind of poisons what people see the movement as kind of like a money grab, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's terrible. So I wanted to say too that Miss Smoke is on fire as usual, and my sister Jean is killing it. I like what she said. They're making a killing off the killings, and that's disgusting. And that's what I always say. I call it the Doug and Pony Show. They use our pain for their gain, and that is disgusting. And I wish them calm. I wish everybody that don't have good intentions. I wish everybody that's sitting back, that's questioned. I wish everybody calm. Okay, but what you give out in the universe, I hope you get it back double. So if you're doing good things and you're going far, double. You're starting trouble, double. That's how I feel about it. Moving forward. Mic check.
Mic check. Johnny, I have a question for you. This is Bill. I think your presentation tonight was outstanding. It sounds like you're making a very important contribution to this struggle. And I want to mention that when we do the West Wednesdays streaming like this, we usually have somewhere between 100 and 600 people who watch it either right away or later on when it, they can replay it. And I'm wondering if you could, in a succinct way, if you could kind of explain to all the people that watch why this is so important, why they should step up their activity and jump in and be a little more active.
Absolutely. That's a good question. It's so important because, like, we're dealing with murder. We're dealing with murder, state-sanctioned murder. And police, historically, I mean, their job is to keep poor people down, is to be the fist of the super rich. You get kicked out of your house, who's there? It's the police officers. You know what I mean? But ultimately, we'll never get to the end of this until it's resolved. And I just really hope that people will understand the importance of this moment. We might not get it again. And I just don't want this moment to be squandered. This is a chance to just really put an end to what's going on with this injustice system. And I mean, let's not pretend like, you know what I mean? They killed our ancestors, man. They don't kill Martin Luther King Jr., a man of peace, a pastor. Me personally, one that's really close to my heart is they killed Malcolm X. It's we know that the system doesn't want this message out there, because once these cases are reopened, perhaps people are just going to see the depth of the injustice, just how systematic it is, and I just don't want to lose this moment, because I remember what it was like before we started burning stuff down. I remember what it was like. No attention. No one cared. And while we have the spotlight, I would be deeply regretful in my life if I didn't use my voice to bring light to this situation, bring light to this darkness. So yeah, we're only going to get there through the power of the people. We can't rely on celebrities and all this other stuff. It's going to come down to the common man and woman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do anybody else have any questions on the panel that would like to ask or say something to our brother Johnny? Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Okay.
Alrighty, so in this portion, we go on to the homicides that are happening right here, unfortunately, in our city. But before we go into those homicides, I want to quickly uplift my cousin Tavon Anderson that was brutally murdered on January the 20th on a West Wednesday morning at 12:19 a.m. Brutally murdered. My family still have more questions than answers. We don't have any answers. Nothing. Ground zero. It's going on 3 freaking months. So when you talk about Darren Seals, who was out there putting out the message and speaking truth into life, this was Tavon. Anybody that know my cousin on his page, always talking about accountability for his big cousin Tyrone West, always talking about injustices, and mainly and mostly importantly, this man, this brother, this father, this friend, this uncle, this cousin, basically always talked about God every single day, quoting scriptures from the Bible. So I demand accountability. I demand it. I'm coming for it. Everybody's suspect until we find out what's going on. And like I said, I'm starting at the pig's house first. Mic check. So as we hear these names that we're about to hear, keep in mind, what if it was your damn family member? Because when you get that call or you get that bad news that something happened that you're never going to see your loved one that you were planning on spending time with, now you got to spend money to bury them. You got to plan a funeral that you didn't ask for. You got to say your final goodbyes. That is heartbreaking, and your life will be changed forever in a blink of an eye. You better believe that. So before we hear those names, please keep in mind that these are real loved ones. These are real people, family members that have been murdered. We're more than hashtags and body bags. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Okay. So I've been asked to read the list of homicides in the last week in Baltimore. And as Tawanda said, I think it's really important that we remember that each of these names comes with a family, comes with loved ones, comes with people who are missing them. And for most of these names, we don't know how they died or who did it. So it could be community, it could be police, it could be a number of different people, but we know that we lost them. And so we want to lift their names up today. So the first name is Robert Bates, age 31.
Robert Bates, 31.
The second name, Fabian Mendez, 41.
Fabian Mendez,
41.
Kenyon Jones, 17.
Kenyon Jones, 17.
Ashley Lambert, 37.
Ashley Lambert, 37.
And the final name this week, Marcus Wilson, 30.
Marcus Wilson, 30.
And we think of all their families. You're welcome.
I'm sorry, sweetie. I didn't mean to cut you off. Could you say that last part again, please?
I was just saying, and we need to think about all of their families who are in pain right now.
Absolutely, and thank you so much again, Hillary. She's absolutely right. Their loved ones are in true pain, pain that you couldn't imagine, pain that I wouldn't wish my enemies to feel right now. So heart goes out, prayers goes out. Uncle Bill, do you have that sad, unfortunate list of the police brutality victims?
Yes, but I looked it up, but the list that I see is done by the Washington Post, and they haven't updated it since March 28th. And we read all those names last week, but they have pointed out that 985 people have been shot and killed by police from a year ago to today. And I think their number actually probably does not include everyone, because some of the other sites that keep track of this have higher numbers than that. And as we know, they kill Black people at about double the rate that they kill anyone else. I'd like to say a couple of words about the trial of Chauvin that are going on. First, about juror number 76. In the process before the trial began, when they were picking out members of the jury, juror 76 was an African-American man, and they had to fill out questionnaires about a lot of their thoughts and their experiences. And he mentioned that a number of times he was profiled and mistreated by police. So the defense, those defending the killer cop Chauvin, they ruled him out. But there's a rule called the Batson Challenge, which says you can't exclude a juror based on race. And the argument has been made correctly that the lived experience of many Black men is a lot of these bad interactions with police. And the prosecution side, which is trying to get, at least theoretically, they're trying to get Chauvin put in jail, they had the right to challenge that exclusion from the jury under the Batson rule, but they did not do it. And the judge did not follow through. So all sides in this trial are guilty of some racism in the jury selection process. Second thing, Tawanda spoke earlier about Fowler. I want to say another word about Fowler. He used to be the chief of the medical examiner's office for Maryland, which is right here in Baltimore. And in the case of Tyrone West and in the case of Anton Black, they were both tasered and both ended up losing their lives. And in both cases, Fowler's office classified the cause of death as accidental or due to natural causes or something like that. But it was not only these two men whose lives were stolen after being tased. There were 11 other cases between 2009 and 2016 of deaths following being tased. And in all but one case, Fowler and his office came out with the same conclusion. It was accidental or due to natural causes. So in all those cases, they let the cops off the hook. And Fowler is being brought into the Chauvin trial as an expert witness for the side that's supporting Chauvin. So shame on them for that. And the last thing I want to say, well, two more things about the trial. The judge is allowing every sort of negative thing to be spoken about in regard to George Floyd. Anything they can find of a negative nature, he says is fine to discuss and present at the trial. But Chauvin, the cop that led the killing of George Floyd, Chauvin had 18 complaints against him in a 19-year career with the police department in Minneapolis. And the judge has refused to allow any of that to be discussed. It can't even be mentioned. And so we see a very one-sided approach to so-called justice in this case. Now, my own feeling is that they may actually find him guilty because they know the repercussions, if they don't, are going to be tremendous. There's widespread understanding in this case, widespread anger. And this is the first case that I can think of where the chief of police testified against the cop, and all kinds of people that do the training sessions testified against Chauvin. So it looks to me like they may want to use this case to make us feel like, yeah, the justice system can work. But I think actually the truth is, even if they do that, by contrast to almost every other case, we'll recognize that justice is not being served by the judicial system in the United States. Last thing I want to say is for those who want to have, those who want to participate in the challenge discussion, it'll be after this at 9 o'clock tonight. to talk about some revolutionary ideas in conjunction with the fight against police brutality. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Thank you, Uncle Bill, for that. But also, too, on that list should have been George King, because they ruled the one that I told you they got tasered in his neck in 2014. They actually ruled his as a natural cause, like he just died from natural death. You got a 19-year-old just died from natural death, not the fact that he was tased in his neck. And then also, Uncle Bill, do you remember why Pam Southall is no longer working for the medical examiner's office as well? That's why I'm scratching my head, because she's no longer working there as well. And those were the two that worked on my brother's body in many of these high profile cases, including Freddie Gray, including Detective Suter, that basically was murdered by his own, but yet they downplayed it and said, oh, you know, he killed himself. And at first they came down and said, yeah, he was murdered. And then as quick as that happened, they changed it and said he committed suicide, some foolishness. So do you know why Pamela Southall is not there? Didn't she retire recently or something?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah, you sent me the article. It was you or somebody.
You're dealing with an old guy whose memory is not so good. Sorry.
Well, I know she's no longer working there. From my understanding, she either resigned or retired, either or. But I'm looking at them, scratching my head, and I hope that when their time comes, that somebody lie over top of them. So, I mean, I hope they get calm. I really do. God forgive me. But anyway, moving right on, do we have any comments or questions of anybody before we move on? And again, thank you, Johnny. I appreciate you. Do you have any final closing comments before we wrap up?
Yeah, actually, I do. It'd be long. I'll be really short. The family of George Shea Boston contacted me, and it was eerily reminiscent of Sandra Bland. She was brought to jail, and they said that it was an asthma attack. This is in Maricopa County, Arizona. They said it was an asthma attack, but the mother said she has no prior history of asthma. So I would just like to hold up her name as I'm trying to figure out something we can do for them in Arizona.
Can you say her name again?
Georsha. It's Georsha, Boston, and I was contacted by a friend of mine who actually knows the family and knew Georsha, and they don't believe what the coroner's telling them either, and from what I've heard from the case, and I'm still trying to get everything from them. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Shame.
Yeah, Georsha, Boston, in Maricopa County, Arizona. So if anyone knows how I could look up inmates or any avenues to help my meager investigation, but Georsha, Boston. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And as you get further information, please share, and I'll definitely share. And actually invite their family to be a part of this. They can actually come on and share their own story. We can help advocate or do whatever we need to do to stay in solidarity with them. That would be great as well. So do anybody have any final closing thoughts before we completely wrap up?
Yeah, I think we forgot to mention that along with whoever else and whatever other organizations would like to participate, we're planning to have some type of an action the day after the verdict in the case against Chauvin, the killer cop of George Floyd. So the very next day, please plan to be active, whatever the verdict is.
Thank you, Uncle Bill, for mentioning that. Yeah, so good. So again, I want to thank each and every last one of you guys. I want to thank our listening audience who took your time out of your day in the comforts of your home, car, or wherever it is that you are going or doing. So I just thank you again. I can't thank my brother enough. Johnny, we definitely got to stay in touch. Like, I heard your story before, but I heard it more in that detail, and it's horrific. I think the first time when I heard you speak about it, I was already so traumatized about my brother. I kind of sometimes just like kind of let go and kind of check out a little bit because it's too traumatic. It's too traumatic. So I just like, but for me to actually hear everything, like the fact about your auntie and all that, and I could only imagine. And I didn't know that, like the new detail that I learned tonight was what your aunt went through. You have a deaf auntie that's already hurting in pain. You're already hurting in pain, and you went to a hospital for help, and in fact you got tortured. Like, are you kidding me? And then everybody cover up. And what my belief was, what they were trying to do, they were actually trying to kill you. And I thank God your body was strong enough to endure that kind of pain. Because to me, when you said, oh, they was like, open your mouth, we're gonna give you a pill. They were trying to give you that pill for a reason so that they could put their conclusion with the medical examiner's office that you had some type of drug in your body. You went off so it can fit. They do this type of crap so it can fit. They actually they will want to kill you, but yet let that pill run through your bloodstream, whatever pill it was, whatever type of drug it was. So that way, when they came back with their conclusion, but God has the final say so. You better believe that, baby. And I just thank God you survived. I thank God you're here in the flesh. Unfortunately, my brother Tyrone is not here to tell his story. But guess what? He's here. He's living through me. Our dear sister, India, she's here. She's living through Gina. All of our loved ones live through us. Our brother Jamal Taylor that was murdered, he's here. You know, he's living through Mara. So as we tell Afghanistan, so the list goes on of all the victims. Whenever you might kill our loved ones, but you don't kill off their whole entire goddamn family. There's gonna always be somebody that fighting. Even if we come to a person a victim that don't even have families or whatever, we are their family. All the victims live through us. So I said that to say, live to love to live. We're going to fight this dirty system. And just like Mass Action said, until we win this, we're going to fight. Just like I always say, my own saying, we're not going to stop, can't stop, won't stop till killer cops are in cell blocks. I don't say it because it sounds cute. I say it because I mean business. I don't give a damn how long it takes for these killer cops to be in cell blocks. But we're going to stand strong and firm. And I hope and pray to God that Darren, or whatever his name is, Derek, I'm sorry, all these killer cops. I'm thinking about Darren, when I think about Darren Silver that got murdered in Michael Brown's case that was fighting an activist. It's just so sad that, our families go through. There's too many damn names. There's too many names. But again, I just wish the best for the families. And I tell you, hold on, guys, hold on. Accountability is coming. It may not come today, tomorrow, but it's coming. It's coming because at the end of the day, me as a Christian woman believe that even if they don't get held accountable here on earth, it's something called karma. You get what you plant those seeds. That's why I love that name you got, Johnny Action Seed. It's like you plant those seeds and they grow. Like whatever you put into the earth, and even if you don't believe in God, whatever you put into the universe, you get back. So that's why I always say live to love to live. And I love you all. So let's just lift each other up. Let's support each other. Remember, these are some trying times. These are times that we never seen before. These are times where so you can have the closest friends, but because we're in the texting phase, we can't see each other and hang out type phase, that people start in their own mind thinking that somebody is carrying them or they don't love them the same. And that's not it. You don't know the pain that people live with every day, the stuff that they don't talk about. So
it's
when
8
you throw a
o'clock.
quick or good friend away that will have your back for a lifetime, think about that. Think about that. Just because we can't talk, that don't mean that I don't love you. You get what I'm saying? I love you even more until we meet up in these streets again to be able to go on to our normal life. If we ever see that again, I don't think after this pandemic, I don't think we're ever going to see like normal, like stuff. Like I never thought I'd see a time. I used to look when I would see people overseas with face masks on, and now we're living this. So you never know what we're going to see and endure in this lifetime. All I know is this day right here, this is a day that we have never seen before. And this is a day, unfortunately, that we will never see again. So that's why I say always do things in integrity, with respect, and with trust. And I mean, that's the only way you can do it. That's the only way you can do it, because your word is all that you have. Your legacy, your life is all. His story is about the way you present yourself, what you do or don't do. Sometimes it's not even best to say something nice. I'm sorry, sometimes you can't say something nice. It's not best to say anything. Just be quiet and let someone vent out to you. Stop judging people. We're quick to judge people for the same stuff that we do, but let somebody do that same thing to you. Oh, you ready to cut them off for the same damn thing that you're doing to them, if not worse. You ready to cut them off quick. You don't have no patience or time when it comes to somebody else. We need to cut that short. We need to cut that short and love each other. And the way we hold grudges about nothing is, guess what? It's unreal. It's not right. Because guess what? You could be holding on to a grudge or some foolishness, and that person you're holding that grudge against that really love you, you probably won't never get to see them again. How would you live with yourself if you know that your best friend or your sister, your brother that you're not talking to, your spouse that you're not talking to over some foolishness in these trying and dying times was to happen, and you just cut them off? It's easy to cut somebody off, but it's hard to stick with somebody and work things through. Stick through, work it through. It's going to all work in each other in our favor. I love you guys, and our brother Ben is going to take us out the way he brought us in with that horrible video of the victims that was at the hands of Sergeant Ruiz that's currently working. This maniac is a sergeant, and we have a bunch of Ruiz all over in every city, every state. But until we hold these cops accountable, just like my sister Ishtam says, every case matters. It's not just about Tyrone, it's about every case, like this queen who lost 2 of her beautiful children. She had not, like, we don't have, this is our action plan. Let's get this petition rolling. Let's get these million signatures. We got 400 plus. Let's get this petition rolling, y'all. We get 1 million signatures. We have something to stand on concrete and say, you know what? We demand that you open these goddamn cases right now. We can yell it all day, open the cases. It sounds cute. We can sing Kumbaya too. We can't sing it no more. But what does that mean if we don't have a direct action plan that we can see? Hey, you got 1 million signatures plus right here. What the hell are you going to do? Let's put their feet to the fire. Thank you. Live to love, love to ill, love to live. Cell blocks for killer cops. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges, like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice, in May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salon vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the Officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Dina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.